Hello everyone, welcome back to Forged in LEGO, and today I'm going to be doing a head-to-head comparison between my MOC Republic gunship and the new Coruscant Guard gunship that just came out. We're going to be listing the pros and cons of each design, and at the end we'll see who comes out on top. First of all, let's talk about price. This one is $140. This one you can't just go out and buy. I've had a lot of questions come in about how much exactly this costs. Now, Rebrickable puts an estimate of around $200, but you can check out the full parts list for all of my MOCs before purchasing any instructions, so you can look at the price for yourself and see if it's worth it. Now, with that out of the way, we can actually look at the designs. Now, most obviously, the Coruscant Guard gunship is the Coruscant Guard Republic gunship, so it's got a much different color scheme than the standard gunship. Now that makes it really specific to one scene from the Clone Wars, but it does look pretty nice. It really stands out on a shelf. But the regular gunship, you can put that in just about any battle in the Clone Wars, and it'll fit just fine. But what about scale? I know I've heard a lot of people say that the Coruscant Guard gunship is true minifig scale, and everything else is way too big. I've seen a lot of calculations online for the size a gunship should be, and those tend to use the height of a clone trooper rather than the average height of a person to determine what scale the gunship really should be. Now, I'm not really a fan of that because minifig scale things should scale with each other instead of depending on which specific person they're trying to scale to. But minifig scale is generally just a range. I picked 1 to 40 because that's generally what people go for in the LEGO community. And the Coruscant Guard gunship is 1 to 48, I think. The wings on these two are actually the exact same length. Now that means the Coruscant Guard gunship has a wider wingspan than I think it should. And you can argue back and forth on that. What really bugs me is the width of the wings. They're way too thin right here, at least in my opinion. They should be much thicker and shorter. What really determined the scale was I really wanted to get this rounded top to the fuselage right here. That was a technique used pretty heavily in the UCS gunship, and I wanted to translate that to my minifig scale version. Of course, the new LEGO one doesn't attempt anything too crazy. It has a couple of these curved slopes around the windshields, but other than that, it's just a straight 90-degree bend. And the stand, or the, sorry, not the stand, the handle really sticks out right there, where mine is pretty well integrated, at least in my opinion. But let's see it next to some minifigs so we can get a real sense of how big it is. And there they are in there. I'll zoom out a bit. It's not too bad. Looking at pictures, I think I made the distance here to here a little bit too short, so I think there should be another extra stud of fuselage below there. But the size of the minifigs compared to the whole gunship, not just the troop bay, I think is pretty spot on. If you take a look at the movie version of the gunship and look at the height of the minifigs there, you can see what I'm talking about. And compared to some shots from the movie, I think that's pretty spot on. But taking a look at the Coruscant Guard version, doors open in one piece, unfortunately. That makes it a little bit more difficult to get in. But you can see the minifigs in there. I'm not too much a fan. You can see how close Commander Fox's head is to the top of the troop bay. In my opinion, it's just not enough. It just feels too cramped for me, and I think they could have done a lot more with just a little bit more space. But now, which one of these is more fun? Which one has more features? Which one is more fun to swoosh around? Which one would I prefer? So let's start out with the Coruscant Guard version, and I'll go over a couple of the features and the swooshability. You can open and close the doors, which are one piece. This front hatch opens, there's nothing really in there. There's the handle, of course, on top, and these stud shooters on the wings. Now there's a lot of people complaining about these, and I'm guessing the price of those 4x4 dome clear pieces are going to skyrocket because people can just drop in and replace them. Personally, I don't think they're too bad. There's a little back gun back here. The ramp drops down, but there's not a whole lot you can do with it. And that's just about it. This is a very, very strong build. I know my builds are very strong. You could probably chuck this down the stairs and it'll stay in one piece. You can do that. Do all sorts of stuff with this. I mean, they really went all out making this strong. What they didn't do very well is the placement of the handle. You can see it's right between these two engines, and my finger just can't reach around it. This is the best I can do. So it's really not convenient to use the handle. I prefer to just grab the darn thing. So a little lacking in features, but very strong. And a little bit lacking on the handle placement. But still overall pretty good. Now what about my gunship? Of course it has the correct two-piece hatch. It's got, again, this spot up here. I think mine is a little bigger. But in the instructions there's nothing in here, so just ignore all that. It does open up in the instructions, don't worry about that, but it's empty gray plates. The missile launchers are situated up here instead of on the wings, and those lift up so you can shoot the studs off with this little mechanism right here. There is, of course, the back gun right here, and this ramp comes down. And there's a little speeder bike on there. The instructions for these are separate and free. So if you just want a speeder bike, you can check those out for free. These things on the wings spin around and look much more accurate. In my opinion, they look more accurate than just the regular transparent dome. What else we have? These spin around. And that's pretty much it for features, other than, of course, the handle, which in my opinion is put in a much more convenient place where you can just grab that and you've got plenty of room because the engines are mounted lower down compared to the handle and wider apart. But now let's talk about durability. Can you do the same sorts of things? Doesn't really like it as much, but you can. What other good places? This is actually really good. That's just fine. This is actually a separate assembly, so wouldn't recommend grabbing it there. Whatever else is pretty darn good. And of course you can reach in and just grab the floor. And that's probably the second strongest behind the handle. So if you want to leave this off and have a more smoothed over fuselage, you can do that and still play around with this thing. You can death grip up here and it is just fine. It's happy with that. So you can close up the doors and fly it around. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments and whether you think the MOC or the Coruscant Guard version is better. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.